It should be up. Oh, that's weird. Chair didn't move. What chair is it? Oh, well, it should be fine. And I can always move this closer. And do that. That's a little too close, maybe. I can pop the mic. But we are live. And we are at 4 o'clock, so I'm right on time. There I am. Always on time. I'm here. Jackson's here. Jackson's shown up. David showed up. Good evening. Well, it's afternoon here still. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, Glenn. We're getting all started up. Chris, howdy. And it's Ken with howdy. Arizona Gold Hunter. Hello, all. And Jax has joined us for the moment. I have to get him a little box to stand on. And you just need a little box, don't you? Little box. And then you can just sit here. Watch the screen with us. Nice day out. 89 degrees. 10% humidity. Clear skies. Visibility for 25 miles. So, little breeze. So, kind of nice. But I do believe it's coming. If I looked at the forecast, it has disappeared, but next week it was supposed to be in the hundreds, and it's dropped back into the high 90s, so it's holding off just a little. I don't want to hear about chili. Ain't no chili here. Is it chili with beans? Do you take your chili with beans? Because is it chili with beans? It's chili. It can have chili with beans, but chili does not come with beans. So there we go. So we're in another week tonight, obviously. The big news tonight is we have 2 hockey games. So the Stanley Cup's on. So I'm probably the only person that really cares. So I care no matter who's playing, but I like watching the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I think tonight is the Bruins are playing tonight, one of the original 6. So, and do any of you know who the original 6 is? Because the Bruins and Rangers are in, they're part of the original 6. But the original 6 isn't the 6 original teams in the NHL. I think there was 8 originally and then 7. But what happened is around 1926, 27, 28, those are the teams that have been in existence since then. And there was a long period of time it was just those 6 teams, which features the Rangers and the Bruins. Not all Canadian teams. But, yeah, well, nobody is a hockey fan. So I'm talking to myself. So maybe somebody will jump in and they'll look at the comments and go, yeah, I know. So Bobby Benzel should know. So there we go. Calgary Flames. Calgary Flames. Survived the storms in here in Carolina. Okay, so the original 6, New York Rangers are still in there, right? And the Boston Bruins. Mm-hmm. And the team that's won, I believe the most Stanley Cups of the original 6 is in there, the Montreal Canadiens. So, if you're keeping score. And I'll just kind of pepper them in. Because obviously the Alberta Oilers. It's Edmonton, but okay. Alberta Oilers? Who calls them the Alberta Oilers? Anyways, obviously, it's very obvious that there is not hockey fans here. So, and I don't always understand. I know it's great to watch it live. The Toronto Maple Leafs. They are one of the 6. You are absolutely correct. People are cheating now. Evening Ed. People start cheating. So you have the New York Rangers. And you have the Montreal Canadiens. And the Boston Bruins. And the Toronto Maple Leafs. That leaves 2 teams left of the original 6. And we'll see. We'll see if someone knows. Anyhow, so there you go. That's the quiz. Man, if that was the quiz for the day, we had this really cool prize, that would really suck. Blackhawk games, and that would be number 5, the Chicago Blackhawks. Go Hawks. Who are not in the playoffs, but I still watch. The game yesterday, by the way, if you're looking for something to watch on TV that can be exciting, the game yesterday, which was... Who was it yesterday? It was the Avalanche and the Stars. I want to say North Stars, Pittsburgh. No, but the North Stars, but it's not the North Stars. It's the Dallas Stars now. And, yeah, that game went down. It was, what was it? It was 3-2, and then it was 3-1, and then they got shorthanded. There was a penalty, and Colorado scored a goal 3-2, and they still had the man advantage, and they pulled the goalie, which is always exciting. And maybe I'm the only one who gets excited about this. And then they were going at him, and then they got basically, when they pulled the goalie, opened that goal that sealed it up, I believe 4-2. So, but it was a fun last like 3-4 minutes. Man, it was really, Colorado is really good at scoring goals in the third period. Anyhow, so there we have that. The hockey updates that you all need. It's so much more, and you don't have the drama other sports have. And I know it's an NFL, it's an NFL land now. That's the big one. And Major League Baseball and everything. But hockey doesn't really change. It is just always just hockey. And I know people always say, oh, the fight broke out. Not really. But it's really, really such a fun sport to watch live. If you go to a hockey game live, you will be like, that's so cool. So great to see it live. Unfortunately, Phoenix lost the Arizona Coyotes, and they have gone away. We still own the Coyotes name, and they may come back someday. But then I go back into when I was growing up in the 70s, the WHL and the Pacific Coast Hockey League and all that with the Arizona Roadrunner. I even have an Arizona Roadrunners puck. So I do have jerseys. They call them sweaters. And I do have Blackhawks and I have Coyotes sweaters because I like hockey. And it was, I'll wear my Blackhawks jersey if the Blackhawks are playing, and otherwise I'll wear a Coyotes jersey. But now I don't have any team. And but I got a puck from the old Roadrunners too, so which is cool. Not a lot of hockey people. Not really any hockey people here. I can tell by the comments. So we'll move on from hockey and the weather. More comments on the weather than hockey. So there we go. I'm sorry, guys. It's that time of year. If someone here is a hockey fan, they would understand it because I worked at a place where there were 2 or 3 of us, and people thought we were really stupid. How not? Because the Stanley Cup, if you like hockey, the Stanley Cup is just, it supersedes the Super Bowl. Super Bowl is lame compared to the Stanley Cup playoffs, or the Final Four or something. Oh man, the hockey playoffs is just so exciting. So, and you don't even, as far as I'm concerned, while the Blackhawks have gotten a couple in the last 20 years, you don't even need a team in the game. It's just fun to watch. I thought I had a copy of John Mitchell's Lost Treasures, and it's taken from Archive. John Mitchell's Lost Treasure book, but it turns out it is by Canado. Stories taken from desert magazines. I don't have Canado. I got Mitchell, and I got Proburst, and I got Dobie. I got their books. Desert Magazine, I have a box full of Desert Magazines from the 60s, I believe, early 70s. So it's, yes, and actually today I was going through some of that. Hey Larry, what's up? But yeah, I was going through a box of that stuff and cleaning up in the garage. You know how life goes. The dryer decided it didn't want to dry, didn't even want to turn on, and then we went out and spent $700-800 on a new dryer. And then the dryer came back to life. And I said if I'd take the dryer back or cancel the delivery, the dryer will die again. So I just got the new dryer, and the new dryer is now installed. The old dryer is out in the side yard next to the family of quail, because when I put it out there, I disturbed my mama and papa and some baby quail that are living under my generator. So appliances are expensive. Yeah, well, they aren't too bad. I mean, if you want to get a cheap dryer, I think there was one there for $234. So that was actually kind of reasonable. And I was thinking, but you want the ones that actually work well. And the difference between $250, let's say, and $800 is a lot of time. And the new ones are almost like running a computer. But yeah, the one we had, this is kind of a newer model of the last one we had, which I believe is a Samsung. And it dries the clothes. It takes a big load and it dries towels fast. So, and when you have a lot of people in your household that are taking a lot of showers, that is important to go get the towels clean and dry. Because there's nothing worse. In fact, a funny story, so all of you can have a good laugh, because I love self-deprecating humor. So I finished the day the other day, and I walk in the living room, and I look down, and there's a chest. It's like a treasure chest looking thing, kind of more furniture maybe, but it's off to the side. And so I went over there, and there's a stack of towels. So I grabbed a towel, went in, took a shower, got done, came out, and I kept thinking, smells funny. I was like, what the hell am I smelling, man? And then I finally had to ask, those particular towels, what were they for? Oh, they were the dog towels for washing the dogs. So I had little dog hair stuck to me still, and then I also smelled like dog when I dried my hair. So what I was smelling was the odor of wet dog from the towels on me. But they're towels supposed to be used for the dogs, and I just grabbed one and felt like I needed to take another shower because of that. Hey, fan of yours, old show. Well, so you're not a fan of us now, huh? Just a fan of the old show. Well, man. Now the new washers are crazy. They actually wash really good. The one we have, it just doesn't use much water. It's crazy the way it does it. But fan of your old show, catching up on all your videos. Okay. Been in Vegas since the 1980s, and vendor, what treasures and mountains, all that. Well, I have a treasure story. I don't have one for Vegas and Nevada, but I got one I was looking at for Utah. So, are you guys going on a hike soon? I don't know, because I was thinking about it and kind of looking at a couple things. I know I'm going up to, I can't remember. It's up north somewhere. I'm going to do something somewhere else. But no, nothing probably in the superstitions right now. I learned my lesson about 4 or 5 years ago, and I will do some early morning stuff, but I won't do anything major anymore, because I realized it wasn't the change of my capacity. It was that I realized I got in a weird situation, and I was able to kind of step back and look at myself and realize where I'd put myself. And I didn't panic, but I realized, man, that was really dumb, because I realized I was more overheated than I would have thought. I was able to recognize it, and it took me, I think I've told this story before, I was down in Fish Creek. It took me a couple of hours by the truck to cool down where I was good enough to come up out of Fish Creek. But I went in, it felt fine. I was coming out, I kind of felt fine, and then just that last maybe 45 minutes, hour, and I got out, and I was just like, I've been drinking plenty of water, there's a little bit of a breeze, but man, I can tell you, I got to the truck, and I was like, wow, I'm dizzy, I'm this, I'm that, my sweat dry. It was really bad. And I got up to Tortilla Flat, and my stomach was hurting and stuff. Had gotten nausea by that point. And of course I had no phone cell reception. So that was when I learned, yeah, wow, that's weird, because when I got in that weird situation, I was kind of like, normally I would have just pushed on through it and just blew it off, but I kind of like took a moment, sat back, and kind of looked at myself, and looking in the mirror at myself, I realized, it's different, because normally you're out there, you're not looking at yourself, and I was like, oh, that wasn't a good thing. So Don't put appliances in your backyard. That's ghetto. Well, it's in the backyard with the couch. And that is because there's curbside pickup for the appliances and stuff. But I don't want to stick it out in front of my house until I've got it scheduled for pickup. So I will take everything out and put it curbside. I just don't want a bunch of junky crap sitting out front until the pickup. So the day or two before the pickup, we'll wheel it all out, set it out there. But until then, it'll sit behind a gate where nobody can see it and the quails can enjoy the couch and, well, not the dryer. I tape the door shut. If you put a plant in, well, it's a dryer and it's front loading, so you can't really put a plant in it. All right, so there's Bobby. Most new appliances are junk for magic last 1 year. They last a few years, but yeah, new appliances don't last. They don't repair. I think we decided to get a new one too because we had this one repaired several times and it kept having a problem. There's an LG waiting for you when you get back, Bobby. Anyways, so there we go. Bobby, who are the original 6 in the NHL? Bobby's from Illinois. He should know this. Bobby should be paying attention, but then perhaps he's not a hockey fan. But I don't know. I have an affinity that Bobby might know. I used to sell them. Now I work on them. What was wrong with your dryer? Should have called me. Well, the dryer would not turn on. That was the problem. I'm sure it was the motor or something, but yeah, it was just easier to get another one. Bobby took away his message. Well, now I know to call Bobby when an appliance goes down. Didn't think that they were related to the Superstitions. Dryers? The Peralta stones, do they have something to do with North Utah? No. I do not. Sorry. You do not. Sorry what? I don't know what I do not. Sorry. Oh, okay. Bobby's not a hockey guy. Okay. Bobby took back his messages about appliances, and then he is also not a hockey guy. How can you be not a hockey guy from back east? See, I'm so confused. I guess it is that unusual thing that people that love the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, that being said, how did that guy Deal find all that Aztec stuff on that ranch in Utah from the Peralta stones? Deal? Who's Deal? I don't know Deal. I only know one Deal. You're a hockey fan, Bobby, and you don't know the 6? Dylan? Now you're saying Dylan. I don't know. Hi, Wayne. Were you in Phoenix when the lights appeared over Camelback? I think it was 1990. Yes, I was. I've told that story. The night before, I was home, and we went out just south of where we live, and there was this large hill, and I parked my Bronco on it, and we watched these lights, and they were set up like horizontally, and then one would drop and fade, one next drop and fade, next drop and fade, next. And then they would line up like in a line. Then they would form a V, and they would rise up, and then they would one at a time fall off. This was happening between Goodyear and Luke Air Force Base, and we watched it for hours. No aircraft were taking off. Nothing was happening. I was trying all night because you can usually hear the desert air. It didn't seem like it was Black Hawks. I thought it must be some sort of drones or something. It wasn't flares. And I watched it. It was a good few hours. We tried to film it a little, but the problem is the old camcorders were really terrible at that. And so I watched it. And then the next day I went to work. And not the next day, but a day later, I went to work and everybody talked about the Phoenix lights and a few people that had seen them. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Because I figured it's, to me, it was obviously the same thing that I watched. Because what I watched was different because it was far more intelligent in what it was doing. But what I watched was happening between Luke and Goodyear, and that's where the testing facilities are. And it was nothing more than something pretty normal. I've been around that stuff all my life, but I don't know if it was drones or what it was. It was very cool. and there was all kinds of stuff, and it would go up in the air, and then it would fly, do something in a pattern, like in a formation, but then it would do these cool things where it would like change the formation, and then one would go out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 go out, and then they would come back on, and then the one would drop and fade. It was really cool to watch. I wish we had the camera technology we have today back then, so we could do that and film that. But I was there, and Uncle Bob's Shoes was the special. Guys from New Mexico. Bob Shoes. Yeah, Shoes believes it's in New Mexico. The stone maps do something with New Mexico. This is why Friday Live. UFO hockey and dryers. There you go. What else can you find all that? And you have the temperatures, 89 degrees. Clear skies, 25 miles visibility. They flew over Sky Harbor, folks, and didn't get shut in. Well, that's the first thing is, I live by Luke. And if that would have been anything unknown or anything violating any kind of airspace, Luke would have scrambled. I will tell you for a fact is when people, if someone comes through here unauthorized anywhere in this area, Luke scrambles. They will get intercepted. And even more so is when 9/11 happened. Man, you want to talk about the buzz. Yeah, it was a very odd time, but there were fighter jets constantly in the air. I lived on 40th Street in Washington. It was a very large object. Terminal 4. Okay, there we go. So, yes, we talked about UFOs. Stone maps. Don't leave the stone map guy hanging out there. Stone maps and hockey and dryers. So, there we go. Bobby was a hockey fan, and then we lost Bobby after that. See, UFO guys, everybody kind of gets quiet when the UFO guys step up. So anyways, yes, I was there during the Phoenix Lights and all that. Light could not scramble if their radars cannot detect the foreign object. I need some answer on the stone maps. What do you need? Some answers. Talk to Shoes. Shoes is into it. Who else is a stone map guy? See, the problem with stone map guys is if you're looking for answers on the stone maps, the guys that are into them are going to just tell you what their solution is and what they think they mean. The guys that know the Tumlinson story are going to tell you that it's Tumlinson made the stone maps and they mean absolutely nothing. Frank has his solution. Everybody has a different solution. That becomes your problem, is looking for someone with stone maps. There is 2 books I know of. Robert Kesselring did his on them. They're like $50 a piece, and the pictures are real blurry. And then Rick Gwynn had one with forget his name. Somebody remind me his name. Phil Reinhardt. Rick Gwynn did one that's specifically about the Peralta stones. I think it's called Deciphering the Peralta Stones. But Jim didn't write a book, Jorge. So those guys wrote books on them and talked about them. Jim always talked about the stone maps and the stone crosses. And Jim talked about a lot of things. So I lived at Crimson and Beeline and remember power of, what was the end of 60? Hey, I made it. Hello, Wayne. Hey, Dallas. How's it going, Dallas? That's it. Nothing left to talk about. I saw one of the treasure stories by Sultan C. Had a superstition. Yeah, there's a Superstition Mountain in California. There's several there. Superstition Mountains with a Fish Creek and different. Those are pretty obviously common terms. So there's lost soldier mines everywhere. I get fooled by that going through the treasure files because I want to make 1 drawer or 2 drawers just solid, like Superstition Dutchman and then the Arizona counties, and keep all of it together, because most of what we do in Chasing Legends is either the superstitions or stay in Arizona. I want to do some outside. We did the California, Colorado River stuff, but I'm thinking should do some stuff in Mexico and that kind of stuff. Some of these, the conquistador types treasure stories and those kind of things. So I wanted to kind of cover some of that, but I haven't got all of it out. But I do get thrown off occasionally on stuff that looks like, or they say superstitions, or they say the 2 soldiers or certain things. So that does happen. Have you heard of Beavertooth Mountain? No. East of County Thunder. Wondered if there any stories I took place in that area. I'd have to look it up. Not familiar with it, though. And we get back to Jim Hatt was a stone person. He was a stone person. He wasn't even a stone map guy. He was just a stone person. Ruth was looking for a prominent peak from Barkley. Well, that's what he said. Is there a prominent peak in the area somewhere like that? And if you asked anybody for a prominent peak in the area in the Western Superstitions or anywhere in the Superstitions, what's the most prominent peak you can view from a number of areas in the mountains? It'd be Weaver's Needle. You can't see Weaver's Needle from every place in the mountains. It'll come and go, but it is the most prominent peak you can see. So I think that was, so it's kind of like that weird, odd answer of like, he did answer him honestly. Was that really what, because I mean, you can see 4 peaks from the Superstitions everywhere too. So is that the prominent peak? And what is the most important event news about the Super in the last 5 years? Most important event. I think it's most recent. They're going to get Fish Creek Road back open to high clearance and 4-wheel drive vehicles, and then they're going to try to do a long-term completion to the job so all traffic can go back through and pave it and so forth to make it so it'll continue. So that might be one of the biggest stories, because it looked like for a while there that was not going to happen at all, and because it was just getting worse and worse as time went by. That might be the biggest news. I'm trying to see. I don't know what's going on with the county park stuff, if they'll ever build on the north side of Peralta Road, but they will be paving Peralta Road in, which will be a big deal. Other than that, that might be the biggest news. I mean, people say they found the treasure and this and that, and I've went through a lot of that evidence and stuff, and you can believe what you want, but those are kind of like the big deals, because it allows its access into the mountains. But other than that, I mean, I don't know of anything in the last 5 years that's been found. And even if you're going to be one of these guys who go on the Silver Chief pit mine thing, that's back in the 90s. So, but yeah, there hasn't been anything recent. There's always little things that happen, little pieces of information, stuff that come up. And but they don't change much of an overall picture. I mean, the Diary of Jacob Waltz hasn't popped up. Was it true, or was it the Sonoran Desert, not Senora Desert, and not get beat up, but just before he showed it in Arizona, I got beat. No, what Ruth broke his hip or whatever in California, and then when he came to Arizona many years later, but I didn't hear anything of him getting beat up or anything like that, or getting harassed or anything. He had a guy drive him out, and he stayed with, trying to remember the guy's name, had orchards and a filling station, some stuff. It might come to me later. Anyways, he stayed with him, and then he stayed with the Barkleys a bit. Okay. I was talking to an old cowboy friend of mine. He said in the 60s he was 13 years old, which would make him a lot older now. And, well, so in his 4-H class, rode horses upper Pinal Camp to Cochrane and then to Florence in one day. Yeah, you could ride. You can walk through the Superstitions in a day. I'd done that. That's a long day, but it's very doable. I had shorter legs then, too. So that was one of the reasons it seemed a lot. But then after that, I really never had that challenge. To me, it wasn't about climb that highest peak, or I can go through here with, a mouthful of water and not spit it out, because I want to enjoy the mountains and look for stuff. I don't want to just try to run through. I'm not trying to set some world record or something. So let's go. Favorite find in the Superstitions. I'd have to think about it hard because there's so many different cool things. They shouldn't pave Peralta. That will be the beginning of the end. They're going to pave actually Peralta all the way to the park, and then they're going to have it. They have a contingency plan. They're going to pave it all the way to the Peralta trailhead. The jars of coins, the broken jar of coins at Burns Ranch really was so cool because it sticks with me because it was actually a treasure story that I didn't believe the Bob Ward or the Henry Burns versions. And I thought that, and then I find something. That was very cool. The broken knife up on Bluff Springs was very cool. That was a cool one. There's always different things you see and all, and it's hard to say what's the coolest find, the coolest place you've ever been to. And then there's a few that I don't talk about because I'm not supposed to know where they're at, and we're not supposed to really talk about those places. So, but it was really cool finding the pit houses out in Barkley Basin. That was very cool as well. So there's stuff I found that's really super cool that I don't talk much about because you want the preservation of them just to be what they are. So but and then there's things you find in the mountains that are pretty cool. And they don't always have a solution to them or a definitive story, whose it was or whatnot. But it was very, very cool. There's several treasures still lost in New Mexico. There's treasures lost everywhere. You believe in Victoria Peak? I have Victoria Peak. Mike McChesney stopped by today. Mike's not in here, but Mike stopped by and I showed him I have the court case with the guy that shot Doc Noss. I have the paperwork and stuff and the court transcripts from that, plus 2 different unpublished manuscripts, 2 separate different manuscripts on Victoria Peak that were written, I believe, in the 60s. One was maybe written in the early 70s. The other one was in the 60s. It was basically Xanthus Carson did an edited, was the editor, the writer, but the daughters, Doc Noss's stepdaughters, told the story. So it's their story, it's their book, and he did all the write-up and stuff. And it has, before they sent it to the publisher, it has all the family photos and stuff stuck in there, what they would use and what the story for. But it's not the finished manuscript. And that book was never published. So I was showing Mike that today. So I have those packed away. There's a bunch of other manuscripts and stuff too, and magazine articles. And I got to get that stuff together and then go track down what's published, what's not. And then kind of have a decision what to do with that stuff. Because it's very interesting. He put it in a museum. It was in a museum and they were going to throw it in a dumpster. So it's better off with me, but it's at the same time, I don't know. I kind of thought about it sometimes is do we take pictures of each page and then post that up? Not try to publish the book, but make public information that's in that stuff and all. And I don't know. In our condos. Kids racing and dying. Okay, yes, coins were real-time fine. And that was such real-time the way it happened. I don't know. Those are the coolest ones for me. If the county chip seals, I don't know if it's going to be chip seal concrete or what. By the way, if you going out to Fish Creek Hill and you turn on the forestry road that takes you down to the dam and you get to the locked gate, that is the Homeland Security area that you're not allowed to pass into at that locked gate. And if you walk on the road, there are sensors. But if you ever do what I did, I scraped down in that dirt and found out that the road underneath that dirt is there's a concrete laid there. Crazy as it seems. So it looks like a dirt road, but there's no dirt. It's not dirt, it's concrete. We found that out. We were walking in the drainage ditch trying to see what would trigger what we could get away with. And we were checking it out because, if Homeland Security's, they're watching somehow. And, we discovered that there are, sometimes you go into places, and that was an odd one. It was kind of an Area 51 moment of like, this isn't really dirt, because I could tell walking on it, it wasn't dirt. And then I started kicking at it and realized, oh, there's cement under that. All right. Wayne, do you think Victoria Treasure tied into the... No, I don't think the two would be the same. And nobody knows exactly whether it was treasure from World War II or it was treasure from this and that, obviously, and the whole Doc Noss. It's an interesting story. Um, it's such a cool story. I don't have the book nearby, do I? No, I put it back up. I had Gold House here, which is a really good book if you can get that book. And, start reading that information and kind of get really into the dry, bare bones of it, not the other story. Go back and read the other stories after you're done, and but Gold House is one of those, I think it's a series of 3 books, and it has a lot of information. Hey, Trevor, come on in and say hi to everybody. Come in and say hi to everybody. What are some of the best Indian treasure legends and the superstitions? Geronimo's Cave. There's a couple of those. You got the Coachella Gold story is one. There's a couple different ones like that. They're always like they raided people and then they hid stuff in the mountains. There's several of those like Geronimo's Cave. Variations of that. They not all have to do with Geronimo. And then Cochella's Gold is an obviously Indian story. And then you have the Jacob Waltz, the Dutchman Peralta stuff that ties in because the Apaches talked about covering over mines in the mountains. Not in Hewitt Canyon or down there in that area, but in a far more western area. And there's a lot of people that Jim Bark interviewed that had taken place or knew that what areas there. Yeah, everybody, like, Trevor just blew us off. He just walked away. Don't know why I'm getting a dry mouth today. What are some of the best... Okay, we did that. Sorry about that. There's definitely stuff out there. I prove that. You got to just get there and look for it. Well, that's how you find stuff. I just go out and wander around. It's turning into Area 51. Now, I always find that weird, but I don't know about that because I've never seen a UFO out there or anything identified reptile people. I've never seen any. It'd be so cool to see something really super, super cool out there. Nothing. Olay Trevor. Okay. He's, yeah. Oh, there's Tyler. Come here. Tyler, come here. Briefly. Just come here. Come here. Come here. Come here next to me. Stand next to me. Come next to me. Come next. Just stand here. Please, just come here. Come here. Tyler has returned home. Yep. One more year and you're done with college, right? Okay. Thank you, son. Anyways, Tyler has arrived back home as well. So we got Tyler to show up. So yeah, Trevor just blew us off. And I guess Bearded Wonder doesn't work for Trevor since they both have beards now. My daughter does not have a beard though. Okay. So many stories of people with superstitions just vanish or found years like dead. It has to make you think, well, and you got to wonder, did people just perish out there because of their own foolishness? Did people perish out there because of other people not wanting them in there? There's so many different variations and reasons. Majority are health and heat related and just bit off more than they can chew. But there is something to be said for things have happened. And it will always continue till the end of time. Someday we'll have to talk about those, just some of those not as well on the radar stories of people that have died in the mountains. A lot of people kind of went nutty. They went out there with other people and they just kind of lost their deal. And they ended up one person killing the other. Usually the person that ends up getting killed is the person that actually goes crazy. So it's actually the person that is like, I don't know what was wrong with him, and he flipped out and everything, and came at me, and I had to shoot him. So it's usually that person ends up dying. The sane person lives, or maybe that's not what it was all about. So you ever worry about cartels while out there? A few people told me they were out in the Eastern Superstitions and talked some stories. I've never verified that, never seen it myself. And then a couple of the people that told me about that, I also sometimes wonder about a lot of things they think they see and stuff. And they're reputable guys, so we're not going to say their names, but they have a tendency to say things that I kind of very much question and doubt. But no, I've never run into that. And I could see, but that just seems so far out of the way to go out Hewitt and out there and do some sort of drug deal on the drive. Because you're so pinned in, you got no place to go trying to get out. They can just sit there, wait on the road, and wait for you to come back out. Okay. Have you done any further experiments, investigation on the small pyramid rock? Small rock. Yes, we did. We will have film of that and stuff because we did film some of that. And that's the kind of stuff we didn't really do the normal episodes, but we got film and stuff, and we kind of want to decide what we want to do. I'm kind of thinking with that and some other things we want to do that over the summer I'm going to put together a bunch of episodes, and then the October type of time period when we usually do those stories, that's what I'll run. Kind of that for people. And you never know what else will come up, but yes, we did some stuff there, and I won't go one way or the other to describe the results or anything else. Just say we did that. I'm also told Trevor we should pull up all the stupid ghost hunting crap we did that came to nothing. I thought about running the stuff like a stream and then let it run and let people watch it and say, hey, here's 8 hours of nothing, and see if people actually watched it. But I don't think anybody should have to do that. It drives you nuts because you start imagining things moving once you're staring at it, because a lot of it's night vision, and so you're looking at it, and then there's a bug or something goes by, and then you just start getting tired. Yeah, I don't see how those guys do some of that. Even though we don't see them actually do it, what do we see them do? Clips of them doing it. Hello, T. Hello, Wayne. Happy Friday. Hey, Monkey and Bonnie. Hello from Colorado Springs. Love the stories. Thank you. What's your favorite mountain range to explore, aside from the Superstitions? For most of my life growing up, it was the Rim Country, the Mogollon Rim. I loved being up on the Rim. I loved being in the Rim. I would love driving the Rim. I loved exploring up in the Rim area and all that. And there's so much history and so much stuff that happened up there. So I spent a lot of time up there. Later in life, then it became the Weaver Mountains area, which is out by Yarnell. And out there's a lot of gold camps and old cabins and old mines and stuff like that. And I started going up there, and I'd actually kind of went from deer hunting in the Rim Country to deer hunting up in the Weaver Mountains. It was closer to home, and it was just, I got kind of interested in that. So I'm trying to remember how I ended up there. It wasn't, I put in for tags and for the area, so there was something that drew me there. But I really liked the area. There wasn't a lot of the people would go to the base of the foothills of the mountains and drive around their quads and stuff, and it was a good place to set because I would take my Bronco, get up high, and then I would take some high ground, and there'd be a few of us up there, and all those guys would get up for breakfast and start hooting and hollering, and they would drive all the deer up the mountain to us. So it was good, you just wait for a few hours, and then you'd start to hear twig or something crunch, and you'd look over and you'd see the deer. So, and I think more of my hunting experience was more just getting out and just loved to sit there quietly by myself, because I always hunted by myself. I love hunting by myself. Probably one of my favorite activities. What's your favorite mountain range? Okay, Superstitions. So I answer that. Okay, I need to buckle up. Why would Homeland Security access to what say you? Because it's a dam. It's the Horseshoe Dam. It's the dam, and the dam, because it's a waterway and all that stuff, it's part of Homeland Security. So go out there, you'll see the gate. There's if you ever look at the satellite imagery down there, there's houses and all kinds of stuff down in there. But it's private access only. It's state and federal government property. And I've never been shot at, or me and Frank haven't had problems, but we went out there and there was kind of like strangeness. We were watched a lot. Once we got back in there and stuff, we noticed there were people keeping an eye on us, but we didn't do anything illegal. We weren't doing anything strange or anything, but yes, it is because of the maps, or not the maps, sorry, because of the dams along the rivers and stuff, and terrorism, possible terrorism. If one of those dams was blown up or something happened, it would be pretty much a travesty for all of southern Arizona. Okay, we did the mountain range. I need to buckle up. Any thoughts on the Gonzales map? Shoes really likes it. I've never seen or know. I've never been able to get quite the originations on what most people think the Gonzales map is. Shoes likes it a much, attaches it with the fish map, I see where they go together and how he makes his alignment case, and it actually works pretty much just about all the way. So it's a really good possibility. But yeah, I'm not sure. It's not. It's obviously a locator map of a location of an area. It's not a specific map. It's just telling you a general area to go, and you would need a part 2 map to do it. My only problem with coupling it with the fish map is the fish map stuff doesn't appear to be further out at all. It doesn't seem to be part of the next step or series. It seems to be 2 different hands and 2 very different maps. Hear of anyone still looking for Center's Gold? Yes, there's several people that still have interest in that. And have you ever heard of a King of Spain? There is the throne. There is the throne, the king on the throne. I'll have to dig up a good picture of it. There's a certain time of the day you walk through this area, and it looks like a king, like something from Lord of the Rings, a stone king sitting on a throne. And it's very, very clear. And then later it's very hard to define when the sun moves out. But the shadows and stuff, it is pretty crazy. And there's also a priest in the area, standing priest with his hands in the air. And it's not carved, I don't think. I've never climbed up to it. I took pictures of it. I always thought it was a strange, unusual anomaly. There's a lot of things in that area attached to it. Randy Wright and I explored. We never went quite up to it because we realized it was kind of its look was kind of like changed in the afternoon, evening. It had a different look, so it required the sun behind it to take on that representation, and not the sun directly on it. But I'll find a picture of it, and we'll have to post a picture and see what people think. But it is crazy, and I asked so many people so many times about what they thought of that, and they never said anything. But it was always told that was the Spanish king. There's a Peralta carved stone near there. There's that. There's the priest guy. There's a horseshoe carved in, a large horseshoe carved into a wall in a canyon there. And then there was an area Randy and I thought looked like an old road going up around a hillside that had been worked out. So we kind of looked at it, and it was funny because we talked one day. We started talking about it. We were sitting in the area, and I asked him, "Hey, have you ever noticed that the slope on this and the pitch, the way it sets, that it looks like it could have one time been kind of a road or an approach up going around this hill?" And he said, I've always looked at it too and wondered. And he said, well, I always thought we should ask Tom if the ranchers or someone, there was a reason, because Randy said he never could see a reason for it. Someone told me later that if you go behind the king, and there was the pathway, blah, 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 and there was a hidden chamber back there. So I went back there. I didn't find anything, but it's not to say there couldn't be something back there in that spot. It's a tough spot to get to. It's a huff, but it is a cool area because of it. And I've always been curious of kind of like why there's so many things in particular, because I'm not a stone map guy. I'm not a guy that sees rocks looking like things. It's an unusual spot because of all these just kind of oddities with it. And then I always also say, did other people carve and do things because of this and create a bigger mystery? So I don't know. But there's also a story across from there of supposedly some Spanish armor was found. And the person told me it was across from the throne area, and we were talking about it. I said, I don't think there's anything up there, but that always made me wonder about supposedly the chamber cave behind the throne that I was told about by someone, that there's not that they saw it, but that they said there's supposed to be one, some entry or something to that. And then I thought, wonder if those guys at one time were able to see that. But I never saw anything about it. That would be a cool trip. It would just be a pain to get there, but that would be a very cool trip to explore that area and kind of show all that stuff, because I've never found anything other relevant to that and all, but it is a very cool spot. And when you look at those things, I have to say, it's a guy sitting on a throne. It's a king on a throne. It looks like a Lord of the Rings, kind of like statue symbol they would use for that area. It's very crazy the situation it's in and how it faces, but who knows? That was a long answer about that. Have you heard any more about stories? No, from the 80s. It was 80s or 90s. Was it 80s or 90s? And it was that, I thought that was they just took the picture. The monks were there. They were just tourists. And I think Tom talked about, Collinborn used to talk about, they just came out just to check out in the mountains. They were interested in the first one. They walked probably a little ways down the trail and then came back and left. But obviously taking a picture from the back of them made the huge impact. And those pictures and various versions of the story were used all over the place in the early 2000s. But I remember they were just basically guys came out, and I don't know what they were doing, but they came out just to kind of visit, see what all the fuss was about and stuff. And I think they got there, and then of course someone took their picture, and it was cool. Horseshoe was my spot as a kid. Horseshoe, like Horseshoe Lake, okay? Horseshoe Basin, I don't know. Horse Thief Basin, I'm sorry. Anyways, yeah, there's a horseshoe. What I was referencing, it's a horseshoe carved going up the canyon. So Randy and I were like, okay, there's this and this and this and this. Then there's a horseshoe. But why would you go up? Because it seems like you're leaving the principal area. And we didn't know of anything up in that other area, or nothing ever that touched upon that. So that would be a cool one. It would take us, you actually could cover a lot of episodes just to kind of go back in there, do the hike in, and do research and show some of those things, and then kind of let people kind of look at it and see what they think, you know. And sometimes you leave stuff alone because you realize, oh, it's really cool that it matches certain things. My big take on the priest was because it's a priest, and his hands are up like this in front of him, and he has the little hat on and stuff, and then there's this stone slab in front of him, and it's just like a big, say, loaf of bread, big, and I looked up then, and that was another moment with Randy. He's like, dude, what do you think that is? Do we need to get up there sometime and check it out? And he's like, I don't know. He said it is weird because it exactly matches the pose and the priest on the stone maps. My thought was, did somebody see some of this stuff and they interpreted it and used it? Because I told him, for it to be so clear from down below means it's not going to look like that up close, which is generally what happens. Something that is very specific to something from a distance is hard to define. But when you see something that kind of from a credible distance, because that would have to be a half mile, if you're a half mile away and it's so well defined there, and it isn't a saddle, so it kind of sits out with the sky behind it. But if it's so well defined at that distance, usually you get up there, and it's kind of like, remember the cigar store Indian guy up in the cove in Fish Creek we went to look at, and there wasn't even a boulder pattern. It was just a stain on a rock wall that had a three-dimensional effect. So you always find those things are disappointing. Have you ever made a comparison of superstition maps before and after the earthquake? Earthquake did nothing. If you've spent time in the superstitions and look at the rocks that you could push over and things you could do, there's rocks that have been sitting there for 1,000,000 years that you and I could go push off. And if this earthquake would have had the major effect that people say it did in the superstitions, those rocks would not be hanging there. The hoodoos, all that stuff wouldn't. But there are a few places I know, and I've taken people who had the earthquake theory up to those and said, here's this rock. It's been here obviously for next to always. It was here during the earthquake. And I said, come over here and okay. And then I showed them, I said, let's rock it a little. And I said, let's be careful because we don't want to kill anybody or do anything. But they were very surprised at the leverage we could get. And I said, if there was that bad of an earthquake to cover that mine and do that stuff and disrupt everything, this rock would not be here perched on this ledge. And they agreed. So, and you can walk through the mountains and find that everywhere. Spiral staircase, not the mine. When did you learn about that? The first time I heard about the spiral staircase was probably in the 90s. I heard the story. The story's kind of different than the story I learned later, but there was kind of a story about it, and it was printed in a paper, and I have that article, and kind of sounds like the Laginas and Oak Island. And I saw it, but I didn't think much of it. I didn't know where it was, anything. And then later, I heard about it, and someone told me, well, the next one's going to be interesting too. Man, you guys are getting some interesting shit today. But then someone told me where it was, and I went out to check it out, and I found it the first time out. Didn't take much, and I was kind of like surprised. And I talked to Randy when I first started going with Randy, is we should go check that out. But everybody warned us how dangerous it was, and it was falling apart, and all the problems with it. This still would have been, there were a bunch of people still checking into it and looking it over. But it was just an on and off thing. And then finally I was just like, I really want to, Sal kept talking about it at times. And there was several different people. And I was like, man, there's just too many different stories. I need to check this out because it sounds like a ton of bullshit. And that was why I finally went out, because I was tired of hearing all these wild and crazy stories and saying, okay, I want to kind of see what it is. And, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to look at it, say, oh, they tunneled this out. And here's all the rock and dirt and all this. And I'm going to be like, okay, they were industrious, but it makes sense. And then I went out and found out it made no fucking sense at all. The Sleeping Squa, Sleeping Lady Rock Formation, Eastern Superstitions near Tortilla Flat. That's not where it's at. Sleeping Squa is down in the southwestern section of the Superstition Mountains. I can guarantee you that. I have a lot of information. There was one site that fit the Sleeping Squa. It looks like the drawings, everything about it, and there was a cache in it. And whether it was papers or whatever it was, I know the story. I have a ton of information on it. I saw that site where the individual went up there. I don't think a big deal was ever made up about it. But, the Sleeping Squa down, think south. And then I found a canyon across from it. There's the mountain across from there. I went up and looked at it, saw the place where they'd found the seal. Someone had broken a seal, and there was a place where something had been concealed. And I looked it all over and thought, wow, it does fit everything to a T. And then I found a spot almost identical on the next mountain over. That is where that X is. And it was an X, and I walked up into it. I saw a triangle on the end of on the rock pile. And then there was another rock sitting on another rock like a sight line. It's like a slab. And I was like looking through it, and I was going, this is weird. It's like alignment stuff. And so I was looking at everything around there, and I thought, Randy's going to find this really cool. And we were checking it out. It's I think it's probably one of the coolest places I've ever been that I've never really spent a lot of time. Because I was checking it out, and then I saw the X, and at the base of the X, you could tell someone had dug out the dirt. And there wasn't enough dirt to fill in the hole, because I started trying to push it in. So I realized there'd be something like a shoebox size that had been removed from the dirt there, which fits the Sleeping Squa legend to some degree. And then there was the calendar stone that looks like it's divided into a calendar and stuff. And I really just found it. I wanted to get up there so bad to metal detect that whole place, because I thought all you needed to find is some sort of metal artifacts that you could date to say what was going on up there. And the carvings of that stuff has been up there for a long, long time. And it just, I never could figure out what it meant. I talked to Tom Collenborn, and he knew nothing about it. He wrote it down, but I don't think he was physically able to go up there to check it out. But we talked about it. I told him, yeah, I've walked by that spot 100 times, and I never was there. I just happened to be walking along, saw that triangle on an end of a boulder, just the way I was walking and everything that day. And then I kind of looked at it, and I was like, that's weird. And then I walked towards it and then dropped down into that spot, which I normally wouldn't have done. I would have just went around that area. And then I realized, it's like, this is a really cool camping spot. Nice open flat area it has this big Stonehenge rocks in the middle. And then I realized, wow, this rock looks like someone carved a triangle out so you could stick your head under this rock while laying on the slab. And I thought, that's kind of unique. And I was like, man, it's I got pictures of all this stuff. And then I was like, man, it's almost contrived. And that was when I turned around, because I was looking at all that stuff and trying to figure out, is this a camping spot? Has someone else used it? I wasn't finding a fire ring. And that's when I turned around and saw the cross. And then I looked down, and then the hole dug in the ground. And I was like, is there something there? And I wanted to start digging and get Randy. And then I realized the dirt was piled beside it. So that I tried to push the dirt in and realized the hole was bigger than the amount of dirt. So there would have been something that someone unburied So maybe I'm too late. So there could be 2 Sleeping Squaws. But yeah, those 2 spots are almost across away from each other. It's weird. So I'll have to bring that up. I'll have to do the Sleeping Squa treasure. I'm going to have to pull that file out and do the one. There's pictures and all kinds of stuff because that's a very cool one. And Bobby, yeah, we got to take you out to the spiral. It'll be fun. We can have a time out there. And I'll show you where some of the stuff we found is and some of the other things. Because there's stuff that other people are not aware of that I'm aware of now. Not their secrets. It's just that I discovered and worked on over time. Can you get a reprint of Barry Storm's The Origins? It's not Origins. There's the Trail of the Dutchman. And then there's Thunder God's Gold. Thunder God's Gold, Bob Schuss down at the Goldfield Museum has a copy of that. And then the Trail of the Dutchman, which is Storm's first book, which came out. The Dons supported that. Dons were the first 2-3 books on the Superstitions, by the way, remember. The Dons had a lot to do with all the printing of that stuff and publishing it. That was 39? Because, let's see, Superstition Gold was the very first book on the Superstitions and the Lost Dutchman. And that book, I'm sorry for any of the background noise coming through, because I don't know who's got their phone turned up and is playing some sort of rinky-dinky crap out there. No respect for us. But I think it's 39, because the first one was around the Trek time. They did the Trek, and then they sold that book out 34. So it'll be 34, 35. They did a couple of those books, and then Storm came in after that. So it's probably 39, because I think... Yeah, Thunder God's Gold came out in the 40s. So, and I have both, but Trail of the Dutchman is the better book too. But I don't think anybody ever reprinted that. Highway and all. Okay, can you get reprinted? Can you do a full show? Yeah, I'm gonna make that this weekend to find. I don't know how soon I'll have it done. But I have the newspaper articles and some interviews with the lady that was involved in it and stuff, and the maps and drawings, the original drawings. I have that material out there, so I will make sure I get that out, because that is a cool one, because I really liked that story. I've been up to that spot. I was so disappointed that someone had found it, but I was very interested in looking at the site, and then just complete coincidence, I ended up finding a site across from it. The same thing, and I was like, man, even the boulders kind of work out the same. But the first spot does, I think, almost is the Sleeping Squa. It would be hard to argue it, especially since they found something and we don't even know who it was or whoever took that out of there. So there you go, got that caught up. But those are some good stories today. Yeah, so that gives me a good idea. I'm actually going to write that down because I will forget. And Trevor's not here to remind me. Sleeping... see, now the pen's not going to work. Sleeping Squa. Okay. You know why that story probably did not stay popular and find itself printed a lot? Probably the whole Squa thing. So, as they got more and more politically correct. 90th Trek video too. That's on Trevor, man. I don't know what he's doing with that. I saw part of it, and he was doing it. One of his big problems was I wore some company apparel, and I thought I had it, and you couldn't see the logo. And unfortunately, as we were walking and doing stuff constantly, the logo started showing itself, and Trevor didn't give me a heads up or anything, and the logo was all through it. And the company frowns very much upon that. But he was trying to blur it, which is distracting. And I know it's stupid. It's really stupid. But they do that and make this huge deal about company logos and things. And I'm like, get over it, really. I won't say anything bad about some other stuff that's happened, but they will literally, your phone will ring. Like it's like dealing with the NSA. It's like, hello, yes, on social media we caught this, and you're like, what? How the hell did you catch that? So I don't know how they do it, but stupid things like that they catch, and it becomes a big deal. Have you heard any stories about a ghostly skeleton that supposedly wanders in the desert around the Superstitions? Is Frank out there in his underwear again? Can't remember when I first learned about that from. Never heard of it. Never heard of a skeleton wandering around in the desert around the Superstitions. Never heard of that. Nope. But there are a lot of skinny crackheads out there, so who knows? And that's not a joke. But well, there was that kid the kid out there that, what was it? They cut his hands and feet and his head off, and they tried to burn his body. And then there was a couple other things. Some weird stuff happens out there sometimes. So who knows what that's made up about. That's the kind of stuff makes me think cartel stuff, but that's more in town, not in the mountains. Yeah, I don't remember what happened with that. I think they identified the person, and it didn't make any sense. If I can remember the story, it was pretty sad. It was like person had been missing for a few days and all that. It's funny how those stories get buried real fast. I know it's not good for tourism, but yeah, it just kind of this is a bit odd one. I will PM to Facebook and let you know the further document letter of the Sleeping Squa. You're really going for it, Jorge, aren't you? Jorge Romero wants to know that. Prominent. I'll hold it. A letter regarding the Sleeping Squa that you may already have. It was given me by a prominent LDM hunter. Okay. Prominent, huh? Use that word around me. That like I'm not prominent. Prominent. You ever see me in profile? That knows I'm prominent. But yeah, it could be something that's went around. Quite a few people have that material, the letters and maps and stuff. The woman was interviewed by quite a number of people concerning that. With all the distance, I don't hear much about collapses or cave-ins. You don't hear. No, outside of the Goldfield collapse that one guy was in, you don't really hear about that. But here's the other thing. You're out there, there's three guys. They're digging treasure. Down on their luck. Treasure hunting. And Joe Blow goes in there. I'm not going to use someone's name here who would be an example of that type of person because it's not fair and right for them. And he's in there, and it's in a soft-walled dirt area, and it collapses. And you go, oh, shit. And you dig and scramble, and you realize he's not... Dude, he ain't coming out. And then you go, you know what? Let's just knock this down here. Like we were never here and digging. Didn't like him that much anyway. I'm sure that happened. So I'm sure there's bodies plenty. I was told Bob Ward dumped more than a few down some old mine shafts, and some of them were filled in partially. I'm trying to remember his name, Marshall Hyde, telling me about one shaft, and we were talking about it, and I said, yeah, it kind of seems to be filled back in. You can kind of see, I don't know what it would take to go down in there and see what they buried in there. And Marshall said that used to be really deep. He said they put a lot of effort into filling that to where they did. He says, I was down there before it was filled. And so people went to hide a lot of stuff. Al Morro, in the mine, kind of the ceiling collapsed on him. And yeah, but I think he was murdered. I don't know. It's just a very odd story there with him. The person, I rather say, knew as he passed away a few years. You know the person. He was adamant about the document, but again, you may have it already. I could. Passed away a few. Okay. I'm not going to play the guessing game on here. Yeah, there's a lot of information. Oh, I told you I got a dry throat today. There's a lot of information that passes along and material that changes hands. And we get material to other people. There was several documents of Reinhard Petrash I found in archives and stuff that were not cataloged properly. And when I found those, Randy found some cool stuff for what was it? He found some cool stuff for Walter Gassler. And sometimes you find this material and you make copies, and what happens is, one or two of you have it, but then you realize it's not creating anything it's not revealing anything major, but it's a really cool piece of information. So it's better to share and get it out there so more people have it. So you never know how that stuff kind of generates out. But there used to be someone would have something, and then a few select people would have it, and nobody was allowed to talk about it. And I hold to a few of those things. There's a few things I'm still told. I kind of kept that secret. I kind of figure there's a certain amount of time I have to wait before I talk about it. There's a couple things I know, the information, the stuff I got. I kind of almost believe I'm the only one left, and that's kind of a weird thing, is when you're kind of like, I might be the only one that knows that anymore. So I've tried to tell Trevor about some stuff where I suspect that, and then write some stuff down, because it's like, man, that would suck, that little piece of this story or that story. And that's why I've started doing a lot of the stories I did, just because you forget. They come to your mind, and then you tell them one time, and then you forget again. So I told Trevor that a bunch of these stories, they're not really that interesting to me, but it kind of puts them out there and stuff, and then people might recognize, hey, that was, he's the punk kid that came and was digging for me, and that kind of opens that up. So that's cool. And it's been rare. People from my past have popped up in here, but a few have, and it's pretty cool. And they've actually stayed very quiet on the side when they have, not like, I remember Wayne when he was a kid, or I remember Wayne, I remember when we did this. They've been kind of stayed silent for the most part, but it's cool when you run into someone who's like, man, didn't know what happened to that guy 30, 40 years ago. And then you get, it's like, hey, that's really cool. Okay. It's really, you have to dig up his tunnels. Yep, exactly. Well, it's not his tunnels. He took old tunnels and pits and different things he even found, or other people dug before him, and he started thumping stuff in them. Greetings, Wayne. Gilgold Prospecting, San Antonio, Texas, where every day is a golden day. Again, you catch the end. Yeah, well, but we get your commercial in there, Sky Cloud. Think about it. You get your little thing. You're the closest thing I got to a sponsor. So we get that sponsor. Remember, everybody else breaks off and takes time off and runs those loopy, looks like a 1970s Marlboro commercial or some crap. And instead, we have Gilgold Prospecting from San Antonio, Texas, where every day is a golden day. There's two of them. Someday I'm going to come collecting for that. Weight of the supers on your shoulders. I don't think there's no weight on it, man. It actually makes me float. So, and I enjoy it. It is one of the things and topics and things in all these books and stuff that I can always. Barbecue Friday. No, it's green chili enchilada Friday. Kids are home. Kids came home yesterday for the summer. No pizza. And there's that week that I have to eat what they have not been able to get. Believe it or not. So I know there's green chili burritos, but there's a steak night and a spaghetti night, because I demand that. I have to have my steak and spaghetti night. I love spaghetti. And I love steak. And not like I want gourmet spaghetti. They already eat spaghetti. They're going to have something else. But I get my spaghetti night and I get my steak night. So I'm fine. If I have, at least I get say something on the meals for a couple nights. See, that's weird. We had a discussion in the work office about that. Me and some B servicemen. And we were talking, and it was really funny, because we were all like, yeah, spaghetti's awesome, man. And next day, heated up spaghetti's even better. And then we suddenly, out of nowhere, we went on about shake and bake pork chops. We're like, shake and bake pork chops, man, that's the best thing ever. It's like, it's so weird how, as you get older, you realize there's that core group that just loves some of the simple, easy, just that food. It's like, it's not, I don't want steak and love. I don't want filet mignon and lobster and stuff, No, man, give me some spaghetti. Which that almost, what? If you put garlic bread with spaghetti, I'm pretty much might say that might be my most favorite thing. I can really take down the spaghetti. I always like just regular spaghetti. I don't want fancy sauce. I don't care if it's meat sauce. There's sausages or there's meatballs, that's cool. But just spaghetti, some red sauce, and some garlic bread. Man, that's just so good. McDonald's Mondays. I did, I will say this. I think McDonald's food is trash. Except for some reason, their hotcakes and sausage. Those 3 hotcakes and that sausage is like the most awesome thing you will ever eat. How come they make such good pancakes? Now, someone told me some of them they're garbage, but how? But I mean, I don't. Yeah, Barro's spaghetti is good. Barro's ravioli is good too. So I've had the spaghetti and meatballs, and then the ravioli and meatball. I don't know if they still have the raviolis. But I used to get that. They used to get pizza, and then I got spaghetti or the ravioli for dinner. So there we go. And we are over time because, yes, they're cooking in there. And I'm going to try to go in there much because I can smell it. So I'm going to go in and get myself a plate full of green chili and tortilla. I'm going to get a tortilla and just eat some green chilies on the plate and then wipe it up with a tortilla. All right, happy Mother's Day. I'm not a mom. If there are any on here, I don't think there was much for the moms on here this week, huh? Have a great week. Oh no, there was somebody earlier, but weekend. Thank you, Wade. Thank you guys. Wow, great, Wade. Thank you all. Yeah, this went by fast, and I think we had some cool discussions. And egg McMuffin breakfast egg. I don't know. I'm not digging it, man. It's the hotcakes and sausage, or not, and that's the one you have to stop and sit and eat. You can't just drive and eat it. That's the problem with it. Breakfast food for me most mornings is a double cheeseburger from Burger King. That is breakfast. So yes, I don't generally eat breakfast food. I break my fast. I don't eat cereals, eggs, that kind of stuff. I just break my fast with food. So, just fuel. And people are critical of it. Well, that's not healthy for you. What? It's meat, cheese. It's just as good as anything else. Ketchup and stuff. Where's the harm in this? It's not a fried burger. It's not this. It's not that. No, it gives me the carbohydrates and the fuel I need to burn. Anyways, we're at the time to get on out of here. So, thank you, everybody. Take care, everybody. And we will catch you next week. This was Live Legends. Catch us again on Chasing Legends on Monday. I can't promise we're going to have the Sleeping Squa, but I will promise that I'm going to dig that out. Nothing beats a Filipinos Arizona burrito. Now, there's a couple guys with little stands downtown that actually kind of kill that, man. And you know what? I will also say this: if you're talking about burritos or tamales or anything else, everybody's nana is better than Filiberto's. There you go. Everybody's nana makes better Mexican food than Filiberto's. And with that, we're out of here. Have a great weekend.